Hello, I'm pleased to announce today the next provost or chief academic officer for Regis University. It was an exhaustive search in which many of you participated. Thank you for taking an active role in helping us choose the right leader for this important role. And now, without further ado, please help me welcome to Regis our new provost, Dr. Karen Riley, Dean of Education at the University of Denver. Welcome, Karen.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to officially join the Regis community.
Karen, I'm thrilled that you're able to join me in person today and not through Zoom. We are, of course, conversant, and we've talked a lot through Zoom sessions about the opportunities and tasks that lie ahead for the provost. So let's start by learning more about you. For instance, you are a lifelong Coloradan. Tell us briefly your story.
Sure, I'm happy to. Well, first of all, again, I'm just thrilled to be here, and I look forward to meeting everyone in person. So yes, I was born in Colorado. My parents actually were born in Colorado, and on my father's side, my great-grandparents are actually from Colorado, so I have a long history here. On my mother's side, just a second generation from Italy, so we've got a nice blend of people that have been here for a long time in Colorado, and then also understanding what it's like to come to the United States to find a new life. So I grew up in the Littleton area. I went to Lutheran High. At that point, Lutheran High was in Denver. So I graduated from Lutheran High. I went to CSU. Actually, both of my father and my grandfather both graduated from CSU. My grandfather was a football player there with a leather hat and all of that kind of thing. We've raised our family. I met my husband here. He came here to go to law school, and we've been very fortunate. We love Colorado. I have two kids. My daughter does something similar to me. She works in DPS. She started out as a early childhood special educator and now supervises their 3-year-old autism classrooms across the district. And my son is actually currently in California. He is finishing up his MBA out there, and then hopes to, he and his fiance are going to get married soon and move back here, hopefully.
As a scholar, your research focus has been in neurodevelopmental disorders. What attracted you to this field?
So it's kind of an interesting story. I started out in engineering. My father and my grandfather, as I said, were engineers, and it just wasn't right for me. And so I picked something very similar, psychology, and decided to try that for a little while. And I was fascinated by the brain and learning and all of those kinds of things. So after my undergraduate degree, I needed to work for a year before I went to graduate school. And I ended up getting a job at a school for kids that had special needs. And at that time, that was before inclusion. And so kids that had Down syndrome or autism or Fragile X syndrome all were bused to a school. And so my first day as a teacher there, they gave me a clipboard and said, here's your class. And so I walked around calling out kids' names, and one after another, the bus aide would either bring the kids down, or I would get on the bus and unbuckle their seatbelts. And there was one kid left on my list, and for purposes of today, we'll call him Johnny. I couldn't find him, and so finally I stuck my head in, probably the last bus, and asked for him, and they said, "Oh, I'll get him." And so they wheeled out a small boy in a pretty big, oversized wheelchair, and he had no eyes, one kind of misshapen ear, kind of a asymmetrical head, and a huge smile with kind of oddly placed teeth. One side of his body was pulled up tight, and the other side a little bit smaller. And I remember thinking it took forever for his wheelchair to be lowered. And I remember thinking, what am I going to do? Boy, I'm out of my depth here. And also I thought, what happened, right? What is going on? And then I thought, boy, I bet everybody has this reaction when they see him. He can't see. I didn't think he could hear. And something clicked, and I just thought, well, not with me and not here. He's not going to feel that here, not at his school, right? And so I, touched him and let him touch me until we both felt comfortable. And it was really very simple. I fell in love with him. I fell in love with the school. I fell in love with the population and their parents. And I went to graduate school the next year, not in psychology, but in special education. And it's just been my goal ever since, is to just make things better for kids and families affected by neurodevelopmental disorders.
Karen, that was a marvelous story. Thank you. You mentioned one of your reasons for coming to Regis is our commitment to living our mission. What are your thoughts about how, as provost, you can impart to students, faculty, and our community the Jesuit mission and its relevance in the 21st century?
That's a simple question, and in some ways it has a simple answer, and yet it's pretty layered too, right? I mean, first of all, as a leader within this community, I feel like it's my responsibility to both model the mission, and really my honor to live the mission. And I hope that everyone around me will hold me accountable to that. I think that the second thing really speaks to my role as the provost. So I think it's my responsibility, and again, I'm so excited about this, is to bring the mission inside the academic enterprise of the university, right? So that involves not only what goes on in the classroom, but what goes on outside of the classroom. The whole idea of the Jesuit mission is the care for the whole person. And so I think that as the provost, it's my responsibility to make sure that mission really is woven into the entire fabric of the organization. And again, my privilege to be here and to do that. I think it's going to be more important for people to watch what I do than listen to what I say, right? So my actions are going to have to speak louder than my words in this space. So I hope that I will be able to model a continual learning process, a humility and growth mindset, not only in the mission, but in my own personal faith. So I think those are definitely parts of it. I think there's another part that's really interesting when we think about living the mission in the 21st century. It's hard to argue with the mission of Regis. It's hard to argue with the idea of creating a generation of people that live in service to one another. And I think that we have a great opportunity to spread that mission, to engage more people who are excited about this. I think what's interesting, our society is ready for it, right? So after we go through a crisis, people want to make a difference in the lives of others. And I look forward to that being part of my responsibility as a community member in Regis and as a leader, is to find more people, to bring them to Regis so that they can be trained, they can be educated in this space, and then they can go out and live that mission in their lives.
As you know, our faculty give their hearts and souls to helping our students. What is your message to faculty as their new leader?
Well, first of all, I applaud their efforts to give their hearts and souls to the students. That's why we're here. So that's great to hear, and I hope to be able to support them in all the things that they do. I think this is a really interesting question, and I think it's kind of a how and a what question. So when you think about, as a faculty member, I know when we got a new provost, and even as a dean, when we got a new provost, I was kind of interested in what they were going to do, but I was really interested in how they were going to do it. And so I hope that the faculty, the deans and other administrators see me as a thought partner. That's why I'm here. I really do believe in the servant leadership approach to being a leader. And I also think, just pragmatically, that the best ideas come out of situations where we work together. I mean, I really think that in order for us to accomplish all that we're going to need to accomplish in the next few years, I've talked a lot about great opportunities, and they're there, but it's also going to take a lot of hard work. And so we're going to have to work together, and I just want to be here to be a good support and to be a great thought partner. I do believe in faculty governance. I do believe in shared governance, and people should expect that of me. I think that the only way to have effective shared governance is also to have a shared understanding, and that means good, open, transparent communication. I think the last thing that is really important as we move into this post-COVID era is we've talked a lot. I've heard a lot of different universities, I've heard a lot of different schools talk about their transition plans back. Most of them are fairly operational, right? How are we going to test people? What are we going to need to wear masks? Are we going to need to do all those kinds of things? I think what we're going to have to do is focus on healing. I think we're going to have to be sensitive to what's gone on. It doesn't mean that we stop. What it does mean, though, is that we listen. People have experienced pain in the last year, and we've habituated to a new way of interacting. Now, we needed to change. There was reasons for what we call dual pandemics. We needed to be woken up about some of the things that were going on. And this is a great opportunity for us to come together and re-examine what we've been doing, to come together maybe to improve the culture that we have, which is great. But we also need to be sensitive to what people have gone through in different ways. And so I think that's the other thing that I hope that people will see, and I'm committed to doing, is that we're going to take some time to heal.
Finally, I've been informed your husband is a Steelers fan. Just saying. So where do you stand on this important topic?
That is so funny, and I still would like to know how you found out that he's a Steeler fan, although he does not hide it, and perhaps he should. It's a funny story. We actually met and made a bet on the Broncos-Steeler game. That was our first date. So we were both with a group of friends, and we met, and he was wearing a Detroit Tigers hat. And I said, he told me that he was from Pittsburgh, and I mean, I know a little bit about sports, so I knew that that was not the insignia for Pittsburgh. And he said that he had lost a bet. And the Broncos and the Steelers were playing in a playoff game a few weeks from then. And he said, well, we'll make a date. We'll make a bet. Whoever wins pays for lunch. And so the Broncos lost, and I paid for our first date. Now, I have to say it was a pretty good $20 investment. It worked out pretty well for us. But he is a diehard Steeler fan, and I am a diehard Bronco fan. So our children are split, unfortunately. I've been able to retain my son, but our daughter has moved over into the dark side of being a Steeler fan as well. So we have a house divided, but we've managed to stay married for 34 years, even with this big issue between us.
Thank you, Karen. You are a very good sport, but you are also a renowned scholar, an incredible leader. So welcome to the Regis University community. We are blessed, indeed, very blessed to have you here.
Well, I feel blessed, and I'm very excited to be here, and I can't wait to get started and to join this community. Thank you so much.